Wednesday, the House voted to repeal Obamacare for the 31st time, despite knowing full well it wouldn't pass the Senate. Is all this repeal talk just a waste of time, or is there a real chance it could happen? Michael?
You know, it's a crazy notion. When we had high school civics, there was this idea that government was supposed to reflect the will of the people. And we see polls that 60 or 70% of Americans want Obamacare repealed. And if you take people that are actually paying into the system, it's higher than that. Isn't it a crazy notion that a majority of the American public that elected a majority of the House in the most recent elections wants this thing repealed, and the House keeps undertaking it? And through some sort of chicanery or tomfoolery, the shenanigans of this Senate and this administration are thwarting the will of the people. No, they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do and showing the American public what the Democrats stand for, which is stifling the will of the American people.
Well,
amen and amen.
Well, first of all, you're grabbing a poll number that's nonsense. The latest ABC News, Washington Post poll shows an 8-point switch from the Supreme Court decision till now. 47% of Americans support of the Affordable Care Act. 47% oppose it. Among the opposition are a lot of liberals who don't think it didn't go far enough with single payer or the public option. So number one, you're wrong on your polls. And number two, if you want to quote democracy, we have three branches of government. We have a president. We had a duly elected Congress that passed the Affordable Care Act 31 times for nothing. These right-wingers in the House are wasting time while we need to create jobs in this country. It is not going to pass the Senate. This issue is over. Obamacare is here to stay.
Next up.
Boo!
Again, a Texas full sentence.
Next topic, Texas Governor Rick Perry joined other Republican governors in saying they would opt out of Obamacare. Will the states flatline the Affordable Care Act? Carl?
Well, I hope not. If you look at Texas, it is the worst state in the nation for covering its people or making sure its people have access to health care. 25% of Texans do not have health insurance. That is 6,200,000 Texans. What Rick Perry is doing is depriving his state of access to health care. How is that helping the people of his state? This isn't some government mandate. You can keep your insurance if you want it. If you don't have health insurance, you get to go to an exchange. It is affordable because of subsidies given to you. If you repeal Obamacare, you will add $230 billion to the federal deficit, and I'm sure Rick Perry wouldn't want that.
Michael.
People, if you listen to one debate, listen to that answer you just heard. Carl is pitying the state of Texas. CNBC this week, not exactly conservative bastion, named Texas the number one place to do business in this country. It's number one for economic growth. Created more jobs over the last 10 years than the other 49 states combined. You know what? People are moving to Texas for a reason. 25% of Texans don't have health insurance. Guess what? The exact same number, 25% of Texans don't have car insurance because they choose not to buy it. They're still covered when they go to the public hospitals. The fact is, some people make bad decisions. They smoke, they drink too much, they have sex without protection when they don't raise the babies, and they don't buy health insurance.
Yeah, and I don't want to pay for that, and you shouldn't want to pay for that either, and the cost gets sent to us. And by the way, those are low-wage jobs in Texas. Who wants them?
Carl.
Moving on, the Obama campaign has been hammering Romney on his personal finances and his Cayman Island accounts. Do Romney's personal finances matter to voters, Michael?
No, they don't matter to voters any more than Barack Obama's transcripts or his birth certificate or anything else. Listen, candidates don't want to expose every personal little detail about their lives. We found out that Deborah Wasserman Schultz was doing the exact same thing. You know, when it all is said and done 20 years from now, we're going to find out that Barack Obama was hiding a whole lot worse. The fact is, I don't think that Mitt Romney needs to be ashamed of the fact he is financially very successful. I mean, I'm much more interested in what Barack Obama's trying to do with my money than what Mitt Romney did with his. This is all a smokescreen from a president that's an absolute abject failure. He needs to stick to speaking to the NAACP and stop criticizing Mitt. Romney.
Well, so many mistakes. We found out from the Boston Globe this morning that Mitt Romney, who says his experience at Bain is central to his candidacy as a job creator. We already know that he's the king of outsourcing or offshoring jobs. We find out now that he was in control at Bain for 4 years after he said he left for the Olympics in 1999. He was in control and drawing a salary in 2003. The reason this is important and the reason we have federal deficits now when we didn't before George Bush is that corporations and people like Mitt Romney are stashing money overseas and not paying their fair share, which then the burden comes to us, the middle-class voters. We would save $1 trillion over 10 years by closing these tax havens where Mitt Romney stashes his cash. It goes exactly to the core of why we have deficits.
And Carl, admit it, you bored yourself in the middle of that answer.
That's 3 straight debates. You bored me with that response.
And finally,
it's true.
And finally, Nancy Pelosi says Mitt Romney went to the NAACP with the intention of being booed as a calculated political maneuver. Does Romney gain any advantage by being booed by the NAACP? Carl?
I have no idea, but I'll tell you what, maybe he did want to be booed and that helps him with his base. But no one is talking about what he said when he led up to the part where he was booed. He talked about we have to close these big deficits and he'll repeal non-essential things like Obamacare, which will provide health care to 30 million Americans who do need it. And without it, they pass the cost to us. It would add $230 billion to the deficit he wants to close by repealing it. If you want to close that deficit, close the tax corporate haven loopholes. That's $1 trillion. Repeal these tax cuts for those over $250,000. That'll give you another $1 trillion over 10 years. Empower Medicare to negotiate for prescription drug prices. That'll save you $156 billion over 10 years. $24 billion more saved by ending these stupid subsidies to big oil. That's how you close a deficit, not taking from people who need it essentials of American life.
Michael.
I don't think Carl answered the question because I think it's somewhat embarrassing that he is in bed with a group of people that are black racists that boo a man for a political disagreement. This is the same group of people that gave a standing ovation to Louis Farrakhan when he declared that he was declaring war, as he said, on the Negroes that criticized other Negroes. That's an embarrassing group of people. The fact that anyone still speaks to them, the fact that they still exist in America today is shameful. It's absolutely shameful. And for Nancy Pelosi to say he intended for them to boo, listen, the NAACP showed themselves for exactly what they are. That's the kind of people that support Morocco, divisive, mean-spirited booers.
Yeah, well, guess what? You better be concerned about how Republicans are going to attract more than 5% of the African-American vote, which is the average they've gotten over decades, my friend.
11% under George Bush. Have to go, fellas.
The bell's been ringing a lot this morning. KEX's Michael Berry, KPO.